All right. Now, this story is not just an oil story. It's a sanction story. It's a geopolitics story and a quiet power shift in the global energy market. Iraq has just stepped in to take control of one of the biggest oil fields on the planet after U.S. sanctions hit its Russian operator. Now, to keep the oil flowing, Baghdad is effectively nationalizing operations at West Qurna 2. It's a field that pumps nearly 500,000 barrels a day and supplies about 0.5% of the world's oil. Now, the move is meant to avoid disruptions, to sidestep U.S. sanctions on Russia's Lukoil, and to buy Iraq time to find a new buyer. But it also puts Baghdad in a delicate spot, balancing Washington, Moscow, and the global oil market all at once. And joining us now is Simon Henderson. He's the director of Gulf and Energy Policy Program at the Washington Institute. How risky is this move for Iraq? Does stepping in to run the oil field protect production, or does it ultimately open Baghdad up to new political and sanctions pressure from Washington?
Well, these days, the basic answer has to be who knows. But in fact, it makes perfect sense. As it happens, Iraq it was historically one of the forerunners of nationalization of its oil reserves. And the fact that a Russian company has been operating this field is a sort of exception to the previous rule. The Russian company wants to get out, or Iraq wants it to get out, and so is opening it up to the possibility of another company coming in to run it. The number of companies which can do this are very few, and an American company would probably be delighted to do it if the commercial terms are right. And significantly, as you pointed out, this is a huge field, the West Qurna field. It's in southern Iraq, and it has a very high and significant proportion of the world's oil reserves there, and it produces, in its own right, several percentage points of world oil demand. Mm-hmm. It's also in a great position in that it's close to the Gulf Coast, the Persian Gulf Coast, which means it's only a short pipeline to a tanker or a series of tankers which can take that oil to the market. In this case, the market in Asia.
No, now you just mentioned this. With U.S. oil giants who are reportedly circling this asset, is this less about sanctions enforcement and more about reshuffling who controls strategic energy infrastructure in the region?
I think it's a temporary fix rather than anything else. Mm-hmm. But these days, if you're going to do something on a temporary basis, you might need to think about the longer term as well, which is why, and this will be one of the considerations for the various oil companies which are either being approached on this or are sounding out the Iraqi authorities on what's possible and the terms for this deal.
Now, zooming out, what does this tell us about how the Ukraine war is still quietly reshaping global oil flows, even in places that are far from Europe?
Well, the Ukraine war is essentially, when it comes down to it in geopolitical terms, a Russian version of the world, which is being countered at the moment by the Europeans and to one extent or another by the United States as well. But the United States position, as we well know, is either in motion on this or inconsistent, depending on how charitable your judgment is. So this is an important sub-scene of what is going on both geopolitically in the world and energy-wise in the world.
Well, you know, Simon, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. Really, really fascinating to see this story play out, especially, obviously, following the ousting of Maduro in Venezuela, another major oil play by the United States of America, really kind of providing a lens into, you know, Trump's future geopolitical strategy, you could say. So, you know, we're probably going to be covering this more in depth in the coming days. Again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Iran's foreign minister is striking a hard line